What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And in today's show, just like yesterday's show, when we had Chris Van Vliet on the show, gonna change it up a little bit. You guys are so used to everything being about hoops, but you know my love for wrestling. So this is gonna be the second edition of Wrestling in the Post, and I got my guest. He's one of my favorite follows on Twitter. He's just a social media monster. Like, you've probably seen one of his videos go viral because they go viral on the daily. Like, he is a monster on social media. He's the co-CEO of Hoops in the Sun, host of Cruz Control, Retro Room, and It's in the Game podcast on Ballers Life. He's Randy Cruz. My man, what's going on?
Chris, man, thank you, man. I appreciate the invite. I love the intro. I don't know how to follow that up, but I'm good to be here with you tonight, man.
Yes, man. Like I said, I'm happy that you're on the show. I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while. I've been a big fan of what you do, and like I said, you're a man of many things, man. You're, like I said, social media monster. Like it's crazy to see some of your videos. You always usually post a lot of wrestling stuff too, and a lot of basketball stuff and you just know how to put it together, which is so dope. They kind of it works with how the day's going and all that, and that's what's always been dope. So talk to me a little bit about yourself and everything you do. Like I said, you're a man of a lot of things you're doing. So just tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. Sometimes when you have a tweet that goes viral, sometimes it's great, but then sometimes your phone gets blown up, it gets hot. It's like I can't even do no other work because everybody keeps tweeting me and everything. It's good, but then sometimes it's like, damn, like he's like kind of tone it down a bit. But so yeah, Randy Cruz. I'm here in New York. I live in New York, born and raised. I'm the co-CEO of the Hoops in the Sun basketball tournament at Orchard Beach in the Bronx. We are hopefully, if there is a season this summer, it'll be number 21. It's supposed to be 21 last year, but in essence, this is a 22nd season. So hopefully, we get a chance to do that. If not, it is what it is. Outside of that, I'm the host of the Cruz Control Podcast Network. Started that up about 5 years ago on some basketball, wrestling, and entertainment kind of stuff, and now it's morphed into like a 7-8 show kind of network with my closest friends and colleagues, and two of those shows are now on the Balls Life Podcast Network that got put on back in March of 2020 before the pandemic. So that's been going really well. All the love and support from them is top notch. And again, man, just looking to try to create some dope content, some original content. A lot of people out there are doing their thing on social media. I don't, you call me a monster and a guru and everything. I'll take it, but I'm just there to have fun, man. Sometimes, listen, I'll be bored and I put this up and I put that up. A thought in my head goes up and I'm like, let me see if I put this out, what kind of traction I would get, what kind of responses. I'm all about the engagement. Get different opinions from people on any sport or anything about entertainment. So it's been fun. I'm looking forward to putting out some more even more dope content.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, you do a bunch of videos, and something pops up and you just post it. Was there ever a video you did that you didn't expect to get so much love and responses from not just regular people, but like talking about big time celebrities? Was there ever a video like that you had that you're like, whoa, like this person responded, that person responded? Was there ever that type of video?
I know that, what, a month ago I'm eating at a restaurant, and this is how bizarre it was. So no joke, I'm about to eat a cheeseburger, and I see the onions and you probably seen it, the onion, lettuce, tomato, and something else. And I said, oh shit, like what if I asked a question saying if lettuce, tomato, pickles, and onions was on
I
your
remember
burger,
that. I remember seeing that. Yep.
which one would you have to take off? And I'm like, this gonna be nothing, bro. Over 25,000 quote tweets, responses. I'm like, it reached over 1 million people. I'm like, are you serious, bro? Like over food? But I guess a lot of people out there have their feelings about certain food and music, whatever it is. They feel really passionate. I'm like, damn, like that went on for like a good week. Some people still hit me up as of last week about that question. I'm like, damn, we're middle of January. It's still going on. So that's probably the one tweet that I put out that I did not know it was going to get that much traction. I thought nothing of it when I put it out. but it's probably been my highest tweet of all time as far as the picture goes, not a video, but I'm like highest interaction tweet that I've had. But I'm like, it's cool. You get people opinions, and some would get mad at me like, why would you ask that question? And I'll take none off. What are you talking about? It's just cool, man. It's not that serious. But
exactly, it's not that serious.
It's fun, man. It's fun, yeah.
That's yeah. Like I remember I had one video that kind of got real popping, and it was a video with Gilbert Arenas, and it was about he was on the pod, he was doing the show, and it was about he was talking to was it CJ Watson or Earl Watson, talking to Earl Watson, and it was talking about like high school and how certain guys who go from high school to college, they struggle with that game, and then when they go to the pros, they kind of excel. Just talking about that. And just posted like a little like 12-second video, nothing crazy. Didn't think anything of it, And then put my phone down. I'm at work, maybe like an hour or two later, I just get like boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, what the hell happened?
That's how it goes.
And then and then like it turned into like 2K views. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I've gotten a few 2,000 views. And then it turned into 8, then turned into 10. 20, and then you got like athletes like responding. Yep, I believe that. Yeah, I think this is so true. Then you got hype. I got Isaiah Todd retweeting it, like just a bunch of hoopers and all that. Julius Hodges and all that, and it got to like 120K. Like it got to a crazy number. Like Josh Christopher from Arizona State, and it just got crazy. I was like, "Whoa!" Like,
wow!
For the first time in my social media career, I had to like mute the notifications. I'm like, "Oh, this is how it feels to be like a celebrity, where you just have to mute your notification because it went on for like you said, it went on. Yours thing went on for like weeks. Mine went on for like weeks too, where you still getting messages and like even like. Now that it's definitely calmed down, but now it's like I'll get like a few here and there, like oh yeah, and that's like crazy, like how just like
even to a point where I feel like I'm gonna delete this shit right now.
And with you especially because you post so many like dope videos, especially with wrestling, and wrestling is something that even people who don't watch it, when you post a nostalgia video. People look at that like, oh yeah, this is dope, and then that turns into like, so I'm sure you've seen that where people who haven't watched wrestling in a minute, they see that and like, oh, I remember that when that happened in the Attitude Era or something like that,
Yeah, like with those, it's like I don't want people to think like I know everything off the top of my head. There are some things I know right away automatically, but then I'm like for example, we're in January, so obviously the Royal Rumble is coming up, and so I'm like, boom. There are going to be some Rumble moments I'm going to put up, but I don't know them offhand. So I got to look them up, Google, Wikipedia, what date this happened, what date that happened. So when I put out, 10 years ago today, 15 years ago today, it's not like I know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I had to look it up. But a lot of people appreciate that. I think, nostalgia plays a major role in what we do today, music, movies, entertainment,
of course,
sports. So I've always been a big nostalgia kind of fan. For any sport, and I think it's cool that with a certain generation of people now, they don't know what happened 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, whether it's basketball, wrestling, or whatever. And it's like, man, like I never knew that, or haven't seen it in a long time. It puts you in a place where it puts you back in that time. What you were doing, where you were at. Oh man, I saw this live. That was crazy. So I like to do that because one, you got to respect what happened years ago, and then also you want that reaction, like, damn, like now I feel old. It's like, yeah, like, I'm with you, that, but certain things are just better back then than today, and a lot of people my age make that case.
I agree.
Basketball for wrestling, just a different time, different era, social media era. Everybody knows everything. Everybody's best friends with each other, but back then it's like you had to watch it live. You couldn't watch on your phone, iPad, everything. You had to be home to take everything in.
8:00, 7:55, and you had the what was the show? Walker Texas Ranger was to come in, and you had to finish watching the end of that and get into Raw. Those days. I don't think kids today are ever going to appreciate the way we watch wrestling and knew we had to be at the TV or else we were going to miss it. And you could not miss a single minute of Raw back in the day.
And the point you just made, like we appreciate that. Now it's like if I don't want to watch Raw, I change the channel, I DVR it for later. I watch Monday Night Football, I watch a basketball game. I'll get to it later. But
Hey,
back
you.
then, Raw Night Show every Monday night, you had to watch it. Only thing you could do is tape on the VCR
Mhm.
on one TV, watch the other one in a different TV, and like when that's done, you rewind the VCR tape to watch Night Show. It's like that's the only way you could do it. But back
Mhm.
then, it's just like it was must see TV. You don't get that nowadays, which is kind of sad, but just different time, different era.
Yeah, yeah. Those days were definitely great. So let's talk about those days.
Mhm.
What was the moment for you that made you fall in love with wrestling? Was it a wrestler? Was it an event? What was it for you that made you say, "Oh my God, I love this"?
You know what's so funny? So I do a show called The Wrestling Basement, which is my throwback kind of show, and me
Mhm.
and my boy Grant from Bleacher Report. The first question I ask somebody new, it's the same one you just asked me.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what got you into it? Was it a superstar or a toy, whatever it was? You know, what got you into it? So the one story I would say is like the first show I recall seeing was SummerSlam '89,
Okay.
and I was like, oh, this is I like it. Obviously, the main event on Saturday night. Um, but the first pay per view, I was like, I'm done. I'm a fan for life. Was WrestleMania 6 with Hogan and Warrior main event, and I was a big
Same here.
Warrior fan and
Same here.
good guy. You had to pick a side. I was more of a Hollywood Hogan fan than I was red and yellow Hogan fan.
Mhm.
But Warrior was my guy. The music, just the energy, the tassels, the face paint,
Yep.
him changing
Yep.
the color of the belt. He was just different. And from that point on, man, I was watching hard every single Monday night, every Monday for Nitro, for Raw, every pay per view. There were times where I took a step back. I think we all had that
Yeah,
moment in
of course.
time where we
Yep.
get older and things are
Mhm.
more prominent. So I took probably like a year off or two. I think back in '03, '04, I got back into it like in '06.
Oh,
And
really?
then recently, the last year, I kind of dipped out because it's over
Yeah.
years, it's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
But I would say since over 30 years, off and on, been a fan of wrestling. So to answer your question, Hogan Warrior from WrestleMania 6.
Yeah, that was the one, and I was young. I was only 3 when it happened, but I remember my cousins and uncles showing me that, and I was like, "Wow!" Like it felt like it was bigger than life. Like it's literally like you got two of the biggest stars in the business,
Right.
and I was always a fan of the Intercontinental Championship. That's probably my favorite championship belt of all time, and
Mhm.
I just love the way it looked. It to me, it's just beautiful. It was always the workers workers title. Brett had it, Mr. Perfect, Razor, Sean, and when he had it, Ultimate Warrior, I was like, wow, like I
Mhm.
cared more about that belt than the WWF title at that part. So that
Yeah.
I agree that match made me like, yep, this is it. I'm hooked.
Mhm.
I'm a hook because that was that watching that even today you still get the goosebumps. Like there's few matches and there's few matches that make you even to this day give you goosebumps though, and I always say it's Hogan Warrior and it's Rock Hogan from that those are the two matches for me that
Yeah.
always give me goosebumps even to this day.
Yeah. Well, Hogan, Rock and Hogan was tough. That's WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, yep.
There's shit. I think Austin Brett from 13 WrestleMania.
Yep.
Iron Man match I love with Sean and Brett.
Mm-hmm.
Macho Steamboat from WrestleMania
There you
3.
go. Yep.
And then I think Taker and Shawn from 25, which when you look at that is the greatest match, not only in WrestleMania, but in
Ever,
history.
yeah.
So, yeah, really
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, and you said you had a dip and where you stopped watching wrestling, and for me, I had like you said, a lot of people go through that stage where especially when you're like in that around high school, you stop watching it. For me, I went probably like a good 7 years when I
Without
like
watching?
without watching. So I
Wow.
was a Rock guy. Like I went from being a Brett guy, then going to trying to find a new guy, then became a Rock guy. Then when he left, kind of just fizzled out. I'm like, all right, just graduate. It wasn't like I just stopped out of nowhere. It just kind of little by little, and you realize, wow, I haven't watched it in years.
Hmm.
And then I would hear because I would have neighbors who were young and they would watch it, but just never. I wasn't in tune like I was. And I remember, I started a new job and like around 2010. So like 7 years where I haven't really watched consistently. And a couple guys at the job were talking about it. This is like my first couple days at the job, and they started talking about it. And I'm like, I didn't interrupt, but like, who's the guys now? Like who's top? And they would say like Edge is the champion. I'm like, wow, the tag team guy? I didn't know that. They're like, John Cena is I'm like, wait, Thuganomics? Yeah, and they would like mention like Sheamus was he was the WWE champion at the time. I'm like, who's that? Sheamus. So like, and then I'm like, they're like, yeah, you should watch. We usually they used to have like, come on Monday nights, the guys will go over like, hey, you should come by one day and just watch it, just see how you like it. It'll be cool for us to see how you react. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And then like start watching it, and it's like, okay, all right, maybe I could. And then I fell back in love with it, and I haven't stopped watching since. And now they have a son too, and that even gives me more reason to watch it and all that. But yeah, I went like 7 years without watching it, which was crazy.
And it's funny you mentioned Edge and Cena, because at that time I was working at like a summer camp or whatever back in 04, 05, and I hear these kids talk about John Cena. So when I left, I think that was the end of the Attitude Era. So before the Ruthless Aggression came in, I felt like I was burnt out. Like obviously Stone Cold was fading out, Rock was fading out a little bit. Shawn wasn't back yet at the time. Taker was still going, Hunter and those guys. I'm like, two of my favorite guys are not here. Brett left to over there, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna take a break. And then one day I'm at work at a summer camp. These kids talk about John Cena, and I said, so who's the world champion now? And so this guy John Cena. So who's John Cena? And he just fought Jericho last night. I'm like, oh, Jericho's still around. Okay.
Yeah,
then I said, all right. So the pay-per-view that got me back was New Year's Revolution 06 when Edge cashed in on John Cena.
Oh, the cashing. Yeah, that was.
So I'm like, oh shit! Like I love Edge, the Rated R Superstar gimmick, Lita, the theme song, and I said, boom, that's it. I'm watching tomorrow night. I'm good. I'm watching SmackDown now. And from that point on, man, I did probably a little other dips here and there more recently, but it just, that fandom would never go away, no matter how terrible the ratings are or whatever it is. You don't have these larger than life superstars no more. Everybody just the same. They all work great, but you don't have that guy that you can see in the airport and like your mom would know who he is.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, a true superstar. A true superstar. There's not a lot of those.
No. And could we get there one day? I would hopefully think so. But I think that they're more focused on the wrestling now as opposed to the lore, entertainment, and just all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and what do you think that's why? Like, obviously times are changing, right? Everything, evolution happens and all that. But you would think if you look at their roster, as far as pure wrestlers, you're like, man, that's better than what the Attitude Era had. But when we talk about the Attitude Era, it's not just the wrestling, it's the bigger than life stars. Like even the mid card guys, are larger than life. The Godfather, like, you're thinking about that, and you're thinking about, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, like, the Outlaws, and you just think about how the mid card was treated, right? They were bigger than life, just as big as Asaka was popular, Al Snow with a mannequin head, chanting head, that
because everybody back then had a character. They had it was more character based, it was more storyline based. And again, I'm not saying that era had the best matches. It probably did not. But what it did, it made you tune in every Monday night. It gave you a cliffhanger at the end of Raw to watch next week with a pay-per-view on Sunday. And you mentioned Road Dogg and Godfather and the Outlaws. If I read you that with Kane, with Kurt Angle, with Hunter, with Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Mankind, so many, Shawn Michaels, everybody had a gimmick, everybody had a character, and everybody had a story. So you, as a fan, you are invested into that character. I want to see this tag team. I want to see Edge and Christian and the Brood and the Hardys and the Dudleys. That roster was so crazy. They weren't just a wrestler; they had a character to them. Now it's like we're all just wrestlers, That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. That's
But
you're
what's
right.
gonna make me care about you? What's gonna make me want to watch your growth every week?
Hmm.
So why they do that? I don't. I really don't know. I would like to know, but I think it just maybe they don't want somebody now to be bigger than the company. So you've had a
They
couple
don't
of
want the Rock. They don't want that. It's good, but then like they don't want that Rock, because then that guy leaves the company. You know.
well, it's gonna be Cena. Cena's that new Rock.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the last breed of the guy who's bigger than the company that he worked for. Now it's
Hmm.
like, all right, we all just here now hanging out.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just like it's just crazy. It's so different. Like you said, like it's the talent right now is good, but it just there's not that star power. And
Mhm.
I think obviously, WCW and the Monday Night War was obviously it was just back and forth. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the documentary. I mean, you look at the ratings and they're popping 7 point somethings, and like they get a 6, they're like, oh man, that's a bad. Now, if you get a 2 point something, I mean, that's a good week. Like,
You're happy.
yeah, you have. Do you think when WCW went under, that was, it kind of did hurt? I mean, they're making a bunch of money, WWE, and
Mhm.
that's cool, but the product has definitely taken a hit since WCW left. Do you think AEW can kind of, get them back to get their creative juices back? Do you think that's a big enough, or is AEW big enough to get them back? Because it does seem flat. Like when I watch it, I'm like, I watched it on DVR and I'm like, all right, fast forward this, fast forward this. Like you said, with the Attitude Era, you cared about every single match. Every single match had a meaning. It wasn't just a match. Like the low mid carders had storylines. Like everyone had a storyline that you invested in. So, and
Right.
today that's just not there. But do you think AEW can kind of bring it back? Not to, obviously it won't get back to that level of the Monday Night Wars with WCW, but you think AEW can kind of give them a little kick in the butt to get that creative juices back? Because that's definitely something we're missing in today's wrestling.
I think if AEW was to go up against Raw, then it might. I'm not saying it will, but it
Mhm.
might, because when they go up against NXT on Wednesdays, it's like, all right, it's just like the younger brother. So if you want to create this war or whatever, you got to go up
Mhm.
against Top Dog Raw.
Yeah,
And Raw is not what it once was years ago. So
no, for us.
right now will be the perfect time to go up against that, because now you could split and divide the audience. Um, there are a lot of AEW faithful out there. I've seen it the last 2 years once it got on TNT, and
Mhm.
no matter what they do, they're gonna love. If they do something wrong, it don't matter, because if Raw does some whack shit, they're gonna they'll shit on them. But if
Uh-huh.
AEW does it, it's well, they're brand new, they're still learning some things out.
Exactly.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
we're not doing that. So if you want to create some kind of, I think, to answer your original question about, I think it hurt the company because without WCW, they had no competition. It
yeah.
wasn't like, yo, let me see what you're doing over there. Oh, word, okay.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna do this
Yeah.
to compete. And after a while, when Raw was being Nitro, it was a landslide. It was like, all right. But once that goes out, who am I competing against? Now I gotta create competition within my own.
Mhm. The brand split and all that. Yeah.
And that's where you create Raw, SmackDown, and early days that was really good. The
Mhm.
brands. Now it's like whatever, but they had no other choice to create their own competition, because they bought their competition, WCW and ECW. So it's like, all right, ain't nobody out here, and TNA tried it, it didn't really work. AEW is trying it, it's doing better than TNA.
Mhm.
They're on TNT
It
on
helps to have a billionaire too, AEW.
yeah.
That's let's be real. That definitely helps a lot for
And the
AEW.
fact that he's a fan too,
Yeah.
so he kind of understands and knows what's going
Mhm.
on. Like when Ted Turner was around, he had the money,
Just
but
didn't care.
wasn't really a fan.
Mhm.
So it's like at some point you want to see some kind of like, if you're gonna do it on Monday night. Don't do it against NXT, with all due respect. Do it against Raw or even SmackDown on Friday. But I don't think AEW wants to do that. As much as they talk about the
Mhm.
other company, I don't think they want to do it every Monday night. I think Raw does not want Dynamite on Monday night because they're trying to get 1.5 themselves.
Yeah.
And you go on Monday night, we're splitting $1.5 million together, and that's you want to grow the audience. You don't want to split.
Yeah. And I don't think today's, like I said, in the Attitude Era, it felt like everybody was watching wrestling, right? And today, it doesn't seem like that would be the case. And if AEW were to do something drastic, like go against Monday night, I don't think that rating would split. Like you said, that 1.5 is going to split in half. And that actually hurts both. That actually hurts both, companies. And even if AEW wins, and gets close to a 1 or Raw, that's going to hurt them more than help.
Bottom line is, would people care?
And exactly, would people care?
Would people care? Oh, we got AEW and Raw the same night, so I'm gonna stop watching basketball, NFL, my TV's on Hulu's and Netflix to go watch this. What's gonna make me do that? Don't tell me you're bringing back 50-year-old Goldberg or 60-year-old Sting. Like that was my era. No, who are the Goldbergs now?
You're absolutely
watch every Monday night. So this is a lot of questions, but hopefully they get back to that.
And especially with AEW, it feels like what they've done has been really good, but they're still missing that true superstar. Like they have Ambrose, but he's a lot of people are like, they were always going to refer him to being Dean Ambrose from WWE, right? Jericho, you think WWE, right? And obviously they got Cody, but you also think Cody, hey, Cody Rhodes. So his dad was Dusty Rhodes, his brother Goldust. Even when you see Dustin Rhodes, like, oh, that's Goldust. Like, and they're gonna have the now they're gonna have to figure out how they develop their own superstar, their own Goldberg, how WCW created them from the lab. They're gonna have to try to figure that out to try to because it's cool to have all the names. They brought back Sting. They got all these former WWE guys, but eventually, kind of have to develop your own talent and try.
They got to do better at storytelling. It's like, okay, cool. I see Orange Cassidy and XYZ wrestle, cool, but what's the story? What's the build up? That's the one thing I don't. They've done it here and there, but like, what's gonna make me watch this product every? Cool to see them wrestle. I could do that any time of the week. Why should I care? So they got to work on this. They got the talent. It just the booking and the storytelling. They got to get better at that.
Yeah. And they do a lot of the being the elite stuff on YouTube, but I think they sometimes rely that people are always going to watch, being the elite, and it's good. And a lot of storylines come from that, but not everyone's going to be going to YouTube. They're going to be waiting for Wednesdays to see what's going on, and they're not going to get, why are they doing that? Oh, but it happened on being the elite. But I don't watch. I'm not on YouTube. Exactly. I want to see. I'm watching Wednesdays. That's where I want to see the storylines. That's one thing AEW's definitely got to figure out. But the Monday thing would definitely be interesting, but I think it could definitely hurt. And like I said, I don't know if either one of those companies are especially AEW is willing to take that risk. Especially still pretty much in the infancy of the company. So that's definitely something that is definitely going to be interesting. So it's Royal Rumble week. It's my favorite pay-per-view of the year. Love the Royal Rumble and all that. And I just want to talk a little bit about what's your favorite Royal Rumble and what's your favorite Royal Rumble moment.
Oh, man.
There's a lot. I know it's tough.
I just had this show on Friday. There's a few moments. There's a few rumbles, like far as the matches are concerned. I think 92 stands out. Ric Flair winning that. Just for the array of talent that was in that rumble that could have. There's like 10 names in there. You can say, well, that guy could have won it. So
I think he said there's like 20 Hall of Famers in that match. I think he was watching it with Austin. I think he said it was like around 18 to 20 Hall of Famers in that Rumble. And like you said, probably 10 guys who realistically could have won it that Rumble.
That one, a moment I always loved the stare down with Hogan and Warrior in 1990. Even though that was like 2 minutes, but that's all you needed. You just stare, and that was the build up to WrestleMania 6. Stone Cold winning 3 times. Oh man, there's so many moments. Sean hurting his back
Mm-hmm.
against Taker in that casket match in 1998. Vince winning the Rumble.
Oh,
Oh,
99, right?
Stone
Yeah.
Cold, Stone Cold when he got thrown out, then he
And
came
then he
back
came
in.
back in. Yeah. Yep, that was a good one too.
I think recently that John Cena pop he got at the Garden coming back in '08. He was hurt and nobody thought he was going to come back that quick.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out at number 30. He's like, oh shit! Like
Yeah.
the Garden was
Oh,
lit
it was
that.
loud. Yep.
But yeah, man, WrestleMania is my number one. Obviously, most would say that. I think Rumble is number two because of what it means to the company.
Yep.
From '93 being that the winner gets the title shot at the Rumble at WrestleMania. Now there's a high stake of winning the Rumble. I know what it means to the company. I always love SummerSlam as well because that's like a WrestleMania of the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're on that road to WrestleMania, it starts at the Rumble. So, and thing is, you get to see who might come back.
Yeah.
Who's the old nostalgia person
Mm-hmm.
coming back, little powwow, and then you get surprised to see who wins the Rumble. Then you start all the speculations from that on to WrestleMania. Who's going to win? Are we going to get a new champion? All that. And now with the girls involved having their own Royal Rumble, which is dope.
That's so dope,
So
yo.
I think they really changed the landscape of that going forward. But I agree, man. I think Rumble is my second favorite.
Mhm.
Mania is my number one. But the Rumble means a whole lot to the company, man.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. What was a Rumble a shocking return in the Rumble that made you like legit like wow, I didn't see that coming at all.
Well, the John Cena one, return. Notice. I like seeing Diesel come back a couple times. That DDP had a good
2011 Diesel got me because that's when I first started getting, like I said, getting back into wrestling. And when Diesel came out, like when
yeah.
Matthews was it Josh Matthews? Oh no, who was the other announcer? He was like, "Holy shit!" And that was me too. Like, yo, Diesel's back. He puts the glove on. Booker T when he came back that year too. Like that was some cool dope moments. Even when Edge came back last year, I know obviously
Yeah.
it was a sad day. Obviously, that's when Kobe, we found that Kobe passed away. But you know, it, when he came out, I mean, it kind of, it definitely felt somber that day. Like, oh man, this day's just really crappy, and you felt it in the arena too. But then when he came out, it's like, oh wow, like wow, he's back. Like it's we didn't think it was coming, and he come back, the entrance, and you see in his face, like, wow, I'm back. Like in front of 80,000 people. I thought that was a great moment. And AJ Styles coming back in 16,
Yeah.
debuting was. I have a friend who was there. He was like reading, and because they didn't show us Aya Phenomenal. We just see Roman Reigns in the corner, and you're like, all right, why are they just panning to Roman? Like, I don't get that. Because then they show the
Terrible.
clip. They showed a clip on YouTube of like, why didn't you just show that? I think they just did it because they wanted to get the numbers for YouTube. But it's like, why didn't you show us that? But like people, my friends at the arena, he's like, wow, it was electric when he came out.
Yeah, they messed up that one.
Yeah, that didn't make sense. Like
AJ debuting. There's also Bubba Ray return back in 2015 in Philly.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it just always is. I think Edge, the one from last year, Edge has to be high on the list of returns that you just because we thought Edge was retired, broken neck, and everything. Like I don't he's doing podcasting and TV shows. He ain't coming back.
Yeah.
I think the only person now that can probably be above that, probably CM Punk. I know we do it. I know we do it every year. CM Punk this year, right? Come back and then I think he's like the last one.
He's the last one, I think.
Come back to the Rumble, be like, holy shit! I did not know that. But yeah, even this year, man, I said on my show last week or even like a month ago, like so many ways you can go with who wins for the women and the men. You asked me a month ago, or asked my boy Grant from Bleacher Report a month ago. He probably say Keith Lee and those guys. I'm like, well,
I would have said Keith Lee too, but that changed. That changed now.
Yeah, now I'm down to me and him are down to. He has Daniel Bryan, which I could see.
I could definitely see that.
And he's been like doing nothing
He's been
for a
losing.
while.
He's been losing too. He's on a little bit of a
Yeah.
losing streak, and that's kind of WWE what they do. They'll make a guy start losing, and then out of nowhere
Yep.
he gets that big win, and
Yeah.
then
Boom.
yeah. So I could definitely see Daniel Bryan because he's never won the Royal Rumble, right? He's never won it, right? No,
No.
he's never won the Royal Rumble. So that could be that's probably the only thing left for him in his,
Yeah.
on his resume is the winning the Royal Rumble.
And for me, I got Bobby Lashley. I think
Oh, that's my pick.
if he win, I would want to see that. Do
Mhm.
they pull the trigger? I don't know, but I'm like, he has the hurt business going on. He's a U.S. champion. He might lose it early tonight and then go in the Rumble and win the Rumble match. We don't know. But I'm like, who else is really out there that you can say, you know what? I could see him win the Rumble. Outside of Daniel Bryan and Bobby Lashley, it's not
Mhm.
Kevin Owens, it's not Braun Strowman, it's not Randy Orton, it's not Bray Wyatt.
Mhm.
Ain't too many people out there. Well, Brock, if Brock decides to come back, that's probably my third choice. I don't see Cena coming back. It's just a lot. You're really down to two guys.
Yeah.
That's Daniel Bryan and Lashley. That's who I got. So I got Bobby winning, hopefully winning on Sunday. And for the women, I got who we pick? I think my boy got Bianca Belair winning.
That's my pick.
But that's what they do too. They make it seem so like it's
Mhm.
noticeable. And I
Yeah,
hate when
yeah,
they do that. Like when Nakamura won and Oscar won, before you knew it, all right, Nakamura's gonna win, Oscar's gonna win, and
Mhm.
there's no like, oh, and there's no wow factor because you kind of felt that was gonna be the result anyway.
Yep,
This
yep.
shit up in the air. I don't think Ronda comes back. I don't think Becky comes back. I think it's down to if I had to pick a second one, Bianca. Who's the second one? Oh, fuck.
You got Bianca, who to be in a Charlotte. You got
Shayna win it.
Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax. Who else?
Alexa Bliss, maybe.
Alexa Bliss with her who knows what she's doing with all her craziness. Maybe they bring up someone from NXT. Maybe where's her face? Rhea Ripley.
Ripley, that's who it was.
Ripley, yeah. I mean, she had so much momentum, and then she just kind of, went back to NXT and, it's kind of just doing her thing there. But they could bring her up and give her moment, because she was red hot.
Bailey too, maybe.
Bailey, yeah, Bailey's been on fire. That heel turn was definitely needed, and she's been killing it. But go back to the Bobby Lashley thing. The only thing I would say is it would mean that unless he's allowed to pick either championship. He's on Raw, so yeah, he would go after Drew. All right, so that makes sense. For a second, I thought he was with Roman. So yeah, no, Bobby would make a lot of sense.
They had that story going on already, like from before. Like now, it's like I lost you before. I'm coming back. Whatever they want to do. There was more of a story tied with him and Drew than him and Roman. We mentioned, like, can Seth come back?
I think he comes back as a baby face because he's a dad now. Like, they might
get Roman.
And get Roman. I mean, that would be a fun storyline. I think that could happen. I'm sure because he's definitely ready to go. So that could be a dark horse right there. Seth, but I like I said, I would go with Bobby. I think, like you said, I kind of want Bobby to win it because I just look at Bobby Lashley like he looks like a superstar. He looks like what you want in a WWE champion, right? And he has the look, but the Hurt Business really has done wonders for all those guys. MVP is just a magician. He's really elevated all three of those guys. I mean, Shelton Benjamin wasn't doing anything. He elevates him, and everyone else just seems to elevate. And I think pulling the trigger on Bobby and getting him that match against whether it's Drew, like I said, we don't, there's always wanted Brock. Maybe Brock comes back, gets the belt. Yeah, maybe they do that. That would be a fun 5-minute, kicking the crap out of each other, So those are definitely would be interesting.
And I told Graham, listen, man, if you can have Sheamus win it and Del Rio win it, you can have Bobby Lashley win it. Not saying he's worse than him, but I'm saying like people who have a shock value, like Bobby Lashley will be a shock value person to win. Holy shit, Bobby Lashley really? They went okay. I can see it now. Then like with him with MVP, with the faction, it's like a new evolution with the suits and
Oh yeah,
everybody,
he looks like $1 million. He looks like a
all got a title, and it's
Mhm.
like, who else?
Yeah,
So
and
hopefully Bobby Lashley.
yeah.
Hopefully.
I've been a big Bobby guy. Like ever since, even in Impact, like he looked when he had the world title on him, he looked like a champion. Like he looks like $1 million, and he looks like he should be a champion. And then hopefully, he hasn't got that. He's been the U.S. champion and all that in WWE, but I think it's time to let him, finally get that run with the top belt. Because he like you said, he just looks like a world champion. So hopefully we'll see. Like I'm rooting for Bobby. I love Bobby, and so you said Bianca Belair on the
Mhm.
women's side. That's my pick too. So we'll definitely see this week how that goes. But we got another thing in common. We're fans of the New York Knicks,
That's
and the New
right.
York Knicks have gone off to us. They're 8-11 right now. I think I don't know about your expectations going to the year, but there wasn't really that many high
Mhm.
expectations for this team. So the fact that this team is 8-11, I think a lot of people would take that, right? There's
I
a lot.
would. I
Yep,
would.
definitely would take that start. So just talk to me a little bit about the season right now and how they've looked. Obviously, they've lost. I think they've lost 3 in a row. But like you said, overall, it's still Julius Randle has played out of his world where he's could possibly be an all-star. RJ has had some ups and downs, but has definitely played better of late. The role players have stepped up.
Mhm.
Emmanuel Quickly, Toppin. Just give me your thoughts so far on the season.
I like what I see. The last couple of years, if you were a Knicks fan, you would watch the games and be like, I don't know who the roster is. They don't play hard. Are they playing to lose to get a high lottery pick? And even though we do that, we don't get the number one pick. We just don't have that luck. But it's a team with a lot of young guys, so it will take some time. I like Thibodeau coming back to coach the Knicks, and Randall has been playing all-star level basketball, and it's good that now they might be bringing the all-star game back this year. So hopefully Randall can get that shine in there if we all vote for him and stuff like
Vote for
that.
Randall. Vote for
Vote for
Randall. Let's get
Randall.
him in.
I like RJ Barrett's game. The jump shot still has to get better,
Of course,
but
yeah.
he's a second year guy. He's 19, 20 years old, so it's just like that time would develop. I like IQ. I think he brings a different dynamic to the team, more fast pace up the floor, not holding the ball too long. Uh, there is a running joke on Twitter how Alfred Payton still starts, and yeah, listen, man, he's in the NBA for a reason, but I'm like, I don't know if you could start in the Knicks. I think you're not made for that team. Can you play? Yeah, but I think when you have Quickly, you have RJ, you have Mitch, Obi Toppin.
Mhm.
He had a early injury, so now he's trying to make his way back
No.
into the fold. A guy who you don't really have a natural position for.
Mhm.
He's like a Sean Marion kind of guy. Just go out there and just
Just
do
do it.
you. And but yeah, man, I think I like the spirit, I like the energy, I like the competitiveness, and that's all you really want from your team. Just to like, if you're gonna go out there, don't get blown out. Just lose by 5, by 7, show some heart, some grit, and because there is no expectation for us. Like nobody said we're making the playoffs. Can you make a playoff push? Of course you can. It just depends on who you play and how you play.
Mhm.
But if we end up with like 30 wins and not the playoffs. Okay, do I look at that as a positive? Yeah, but it's like as a fan for so long, it's like how many years can we go with like,
Exactly.
like, like a moral victory? Yeah, we got 30. We're rising. We come back
Yeah.
next year. It's like we've been doing the next year stuff for so long. We
Next year
we
for 20 years, bro.
we have been in the playoffs in 8 years when Melo was there,
Yeah.
and we lose out on Zion, we lose out on John Morant, and lose out on this year. We trade Porzingis. That's a different story for a different day. But I think it's like I like the energy now where the team looks like they're being run properly, and we know how they can do some weird shit. But I think now they kind of like they have a vision with what they
Yes.
now. That don't mean they can say, you know what, if I see this disgruntled player unhappy over here and over here, do I make a play? So like a Bradley Beal who wants to get out of Washington, I'm the first person to say, all right, who do we got to give up to get Bradley Beal just to entertain it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to make that phone call. You have to just say, hey, what is it going to take to get Bradley Beal to New York? And a lot of people are going to say, well, I don't want to trade the young guys. Okay, great. But Bradley Beal averaged 35 a game.
Leading scorer in the NBA.
Leading scorer in the NBA. I understand the Wizards ain't good, but if you was to somehow get him here, and whoever's a free agent this year can say, oh, they got Bradley Beal in New York with the Knicks. Okay, so you might have to use him to get the other stars that come there, follow him. But you have to build that kind of player has to come here. Not saying Bradley Beal, but that kind of player has to come here to make the fans know, oh, you know what? We're for real now. You see Brooklyn, KD, Kyrie, and Harden, they're going for it.
Mm-hmm.
We over here in the Garden with Mitch and Randall and RJ, we're learning, but it's like, all right, how do we compete with Brooklyn? How do we compete with Boston and Indiana?
The division alone is a bloodbath. Like you got Philly, you got Boston, Brooklyn, Toronto. Like you got to compete with your own division. You have to be better than at least one of those teams in your division to even be a playoff team. So like you got to be better in division. So you forget about what Brooklyn's doing. You got to worry about everyone else in that division.
And I get what people say. Well, let the young guys develop. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you wouldn't want Bradley Beal at 27 now in his prime, getting 35 a game, or you want to wait 4 or 5 more years for X, Y, Z to
hope that RJ pops and becomes what you think he can, and hope that Toppin and IQ and whoever the draft pick is this upcoming year and next year, hope that they pop. Because listen, let's be real, they've missed the last few other years. You know, they missed with Ntilikina and Knox and we've missed, and that's hurt this team. So it's just, how long do you keep hoping that these guys pop before, like you said, Boston is going to conference. All these teams are going. The Nets right in your own city or possibly can win a championship this year. You know, like what? And I always said, why don't they take the blueprint of what Brooklyn did a few years back? They took a chance on a D'Angelo Russell. Like, you knew he had the talent. You just needed to change the scenery. Why not try to do something? Try to find a guy like that and then try to jumpstart it somehow, some way, and then see what Brooklyn did and how they turned D'Angelo Russell into what they have now. It's kind of like something like that, because, we can keep saying, oh, the young guys, but it's eventually, it's like, all right, like, how many more years can we wait? The patience is like, I know we have to be patient, but yet it's like, we've been patient enough. Like, we haven't made the playoffs in 7-8 years. Like, 8 years. Like, and like, come on, we got to do something.
At some point in time, you got to be like, you know what, you got to take that risk, but a positive risk to say, you know what, for example, I'm going to trade RJ Barrett, this guy, that guy at a pick, just to entice Bradley Beal and Washington. Bradley Beal can say all he wants. I want to stay here and win. Okay, but deep down inside, you want to get out of here.
We saw him.
Westbrook coming there was going to help him. I said they're a playoff team with Westbrook.
Yeah. I think a lot of
him. So, and Bradley Beal had 47 last night, and they lost. I'm like,
he has. I think there's a stat, and let me bring it up. But I think his last 10 40-point games they've lost. It's something crazy like that, and then. Which is just great. I mean, he's had a 60-point game, but last year he had a couple 50-point games where they lost, and it's just like, like, it's kind of crazy how like he's putting up these crazy stats, and the team isn't there. And I know they've had injuries and all that, but if I'm the Knicks, and I talked about this morning on social media, like just trying to figure out. I don't know if they have enough, because there's other teams like Atlanta, maybe a Memphis, other teams that just have way more pieces that they can give up. I mean, Atlanta can give up half their roster and still have a good team, to give up Beal. So, but
unless you said, listen, I want to get traded and I have a preferred destination. I got my 3 picks, and New York is one of them. That's the only way they could do it, because I think the best fit for Bradley Beal, if they probably can't do it, will be Milwaukee. If you want to win now and help Giannis,
if they known he was really available before they pulled the trigger on Drew, do you think if we had known Bradley Beal wants out, whatever, you think they would have waited and try to pull the trigger on Brad instead of going after Drew? Because Drew's a free agent this year, so he could still leave. And obviously there was still, speculation on whether, Giannis was going to come back. But I know if you get Brad, Giannis would have, even though he wound up signing anyway, he's definitely going to sign. And there's not that stress of worrying about if Giannis.
Oh, yeah. Bradley Beal with Middleton and Giannis, that's an Eastern Conference final team right there. Now, to get Bradley Beal, would you have to give up Middleton? I don't know, maybe. But is Drew, Giannis, and Middleton now a conference final team compared to KD, Kyrie, and Harden? And in Philly too. Philly's balling out too, so you can't forget about them. So I think I'm just glad the Eastern Conference is not that conference from back in the days where you just like run over them and they're all whacking bums. No, we're a really nice division conference now with Philly, with Boston, with Brooklyn, with Miami. Indiana's good.
Just think about the division not too long ago was like a bad, like you needed you get 42 wins, you're division champion in that. Yeah. Now it's like, oh,
you're an AFC at 42 wins.
Yeah. Now you got to fight, because that division is tough. But all right, you're the GM right now, the Knicks. You call them Washington.
Mm-hmm.
What's your proposal before they hang up on you? Because obviously the Knicks don't have so much. So give me a proposal, that Washington would actually entertain.
I think anything starts with RJ Barrett.
I agree.
It's just like, hey, would you rather have Bradley Beal or RJ Barrett? I'll take Bradley Beal. RJ, I don't recall the draft pick scenario, so I know there's certain picks that they don't want to give up, or what they have this year and the following year. I know maybe a pick or two got to be in there. Sorry, Frank fans, but he's got to go.
I gave him away for a bag of chips, so.
I think Mitchell Robinson would have to stay, and Randall would have to stay.
You might have to give away one of the rookies.
You can do Kevin Knox. RJ, Kevin. Listen, if it's RJ, anything with RJ, Frank, Kevin Knox, you keep Quickly.
Toppin?
I don't want it. While you trade him, you see 10 games, like, and he's your.
What about Randall? Would you include Randall, because he's next year is going to be his last year of his deal, and it's they're probably going to guarantee it, most likely, obviously, because he's balled out. It was only $4 million guaranteed. He'll get the $19 million guaranteed, but then he's going to want an extension after that, and that's going to be another thing. Is he worthy of getting max money, which is what he's going to want, and he's going to be older, So do you think about, hey, do you include him in there? I think there's a lot of things the Knicks have to think about, long term, that are real, because right now Randall's playing, obviously he's playing tremendous basketball, but is this sustainable? Because his play has dipped a little bit, because he has played a lot of minutes and there's been injuries and all that, but you got to think about it. Are we going to give him a 5-year max? Because that's going to be what he wants. So that's another thing they're going to have to think about, with Julius, because right now he's your best player, Right. So how do you handle that? So that's another thing.
The only way you do the Randall or trade Randall in any Beal deal is to give the time to develop for Obi Toppin and those guys to get the playing time, and like you kind of say, always coming to replace Randall at some point in time. But like if you trade Randall, then who's your go-to guy? Like,
exactly,
the Knicks have a hard time scoring, and they don't have a legit go-to guy. Randall happens to be that guy now because he's the best player on the team. But is he your 1A go-to guy? Probably not. If you put in Beal with Randall, now Randall becomes Robin. You know what I'm saying? Beal is Batman now. So it's like I don't want to get a Bradley Beal and nobody's here to play with him.
Because it'd be the Melo thing kind of all over again in a way.
If you get rid of RJ and Randall, then what are you doing? Like, you
have no number 2, and then he's back in Washington all over again, and then he's gonna be frustrated.
Exactly, but I think a better coach.
Way better.
It's New York, different scenery. You know how it is. Harden got traded from Houston. Now he looks all live and energetic playing with Brooklyn. It just every big superstar who wants to get out needs that to happen. If he comes to New York, man, it's like, okay, I see you in Brooklyn. but we got some stuff over here, so it'll take a little while. But do I see him coming here? I would hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who's a big free agent this year, or probably now there's two. Kawhi is a free agent too,
He's the only real free agent next year because everyone else kind of re-upped.
right? That maybe could leave.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if he says, "Hey, I see Bradley Beal in New York. I see Tom Thibodeau. They got a couple young guys. If I go to New York and I get Bradley Beal, maybe Bradley Beal and Kawhi work better than Kawhi and Paul George."
Yeah, because essentially Paul George and
Beal
Kawhi.
has to be the guy to get these guys to come here.
Yeah,
That's why you make the deal for Bradley Beal to entice a Kawhi to come here in the summertime.
yeah, and I think that's kind of how you have to do it. You got to take that risk because you just can't go into go into the off season thinking, like they've done before, and think, oh, we're gonna get this free agent, because as we've seen, it hasn't worked out that way.
And
So
if any Knicks fan is mad that I don't want Bradley Beal and Kawhi because I want to help develop the young guys. Listen, man, then you don't want to win. You don't want to win. If that's in the table, at any point in time, you won't do that deal. Like, all right, I get Bradley Beal now. I don't re-up Randall. I trade him or whatever, and I could sign Kawhi Leonard. You're right. You're a top 4 team next year, right? Just like that.
Yep. And listen, we're starving, right? We're starving to get back to a long. I mean, we got one playoff series win in 20 years. That was that 2012, 2013 when we beat Boston, and we celebrated as if we won the title. So like like you said, like we all want the young guys to develop, and we wish we had like OKC did it, and all these guys turn into MVPs and all that. But sometimes you just got to sit down and just be real. Like, all right, we got to really think about this because our division is loaded. Everyone's got 2 guys, in the East right now, like in our own division, everyone's got 2+ guys. And you got Toronto, they got that culture. They just won a championship not too long ago. We have to do something, we just can't see Brooklyn and do all the stuff,
That division. So real quick, if you say, all right, I got Jaylen Brown and Tatum in Boston, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Embiid and Simmons, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
KD, Kyrie, Harden, phenomenal. Is Kyle Lowry and Siakam not bad in Toronto? Then boom, we get Bradley Beal and Kawhi Leonard. That Atlanta division becomes like the toughest division to win and get out as far as talent. A lot of those guys out west are coming east now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, man, we can all hope and speculate. As long as the Knicks make smart moves, that's all we can ask for.
Yep, and that's all we want, right? You kind of had that feeling that with this new regime that they didn't go crazy this offseason and sign a bunch of guys, to crazy 5-year contracts and all that. They were smart, signed some veteran guys. But eventually it's going to be time where, hey, we got to do something because let's face it, Brooklyn just made the move of the century and go getting James Harden. So eventually,
and they traded picks and like 8. They traded everything.
Yeah.
But look, they're gonna be in the finals this year. If all goes well, healthy. They're gonna be in the finals this year, next year, the following. Like
with a chance to win it.
That's what you got to do. It's finals or bust for Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to that point with the Knicks. Listen, man, I got to be in the conference semis or finals every year and compete, or finals, the whole thing.
Exactly.
So we'll see, man. Hopefully one day.
Hopefully, it's because it's been, like you said, man, it's been a long time.
I tell you right now, I promise you right now, Chris. I swear to you, if they make the deal, hypothetically, make a deal for Bradley Beal, there are Knicks fans gonna say, "Yeah, we got Bradley Beal, but they traded R.J. Barrett, they traded Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina." Like, no,
I think
it'll be all right.
Why it feels like we're a lot of Knicks fans. They're so like you said. There's a world where there's a Frank. Like people love Frank and like, oh, he hasn't got a chance. It's like, well, it's been 4 years, like, and we haven't seen anything from him. Kevin Knox, like Barron. It's like, why are we stick? It's all about the team, right? And I get it. We want the young guys, but I'm tired of losing. So if it means we got to get rid of, sometimes you got to you got to sacrifice some guys, because like I said, I'm tired of losing. Randy, I'm tired. I know you're tired of seeing, we're seeing Brooklyn, like they just got here and listen, the first big three, they tried, right? But they did it. They thought they can, strike gold. It didn't work out, but they went at it, right? They went for it. They sacrificed, but they went for it. And it obviously looking back, it didn't work, but they tried. They did it again. And like you said, I want to be in that position where we could get a Kevin Durant and we could get James Harden. Like, how fun is that to watch? Like, we just got to get to that point where we're at that level and we're just, we have a chance. Because right now, even though we played good basketball to start a season 8-11, there's still like, and I was talking to my buddy today. I'm like, we're 8-11. That's good, right? It's better than we anticipated, but I still feel that emptiness in my heart. Like there's still not that hope. Like, oh, we're gonna, I think we can be a championship team in a year. It's like I don't see that still right now, unless they make that move. And I'm just wondering what Leon's doing, because he's been real quiet. Worldwide West, they've been real quiet. So, maybe they're looking back, and maybe they're figuring. So it's been a long time, man. We got to see something, but we'll see how the Knicks do and all that. And like I said, hopefully we get that guy, but we'll see. But Randy, my man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. This has been a blast, man. Really appreciate this. Finally, getting you on the show and chopping up with you.
Is LeBron your last name?
Yes, really? It is. Yes, It is really my last name. Yup.
I'm like, he's a nickname, Chris LeBron.
It's actually like a real common Spanish name. It's real. I didn't realize how popular it was, in the Spanish world till like LeBron James got popular, and like it started like I started seeing other people like having LeBron's last name and all that. But yeah, it's really my last. I have the lowercase b, so that's just
big difference. Big difference.
I have it tatted on my arm too. So I got it right around when LeBron went to Miami. So that's when like LeBron hate was like at his like NWO Hulk Hogan like level, right? And people would see it, and because I would show it off, just got my first tat, blah blah. I'll make sure people see it. They're like, "Oh man, you like him that much?" I'm like, "No, it's my name." Like, come on, bro. Like, why you like him that much? Like, that's corny. I'm like, first of all, if I really love LeBron James that much, I would have put a capital B. I'm like, and they're like, all right, you're right. You would
like
do that.
A crown or something.
Yeah, King. I would have a crown or the king and all that and all. But I did do King LeBron as my like Xbox thing, so I would get trashed on Xbox. I did go with that because I wanted to get people going like, oh, LeBron, you're such and such, or you're not the king in this game. It's like I would get people on that. But yeah, LeBron is my last name. So yeah, it's a real Spanish last name. I didn't realize how Spanish it was until LeBron got popular, and like I started seeing mad people that weren't in my family named LeBron and all that. So yeah, it's a real Spanish last name. So yeah, that's why I was surprised LeBron is his first name, because I've never ever in the history of ever met anyone or even heard of anyone else named LeBron as their first name. Like that's rare. So yeah. It's yeah, LeBrons are rare for sure. But like I said, man, Randy, I appreciate you coming on the show, brother.
Thank you, man. I love the invite, man. I know this was dope, talking wrestling, basketball, Knicks. You got a good thing going on, and keep it up, man. Thank you.
I appreciate that, bro. That means a lot. But before we sign off, where can the people find all your stuff, social media, all that good stuff? Plug that.
Oh man, they can find they can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Randy J Cruz, RENDY, the letter J CRUZ. They can find the Cruz Control Podcast Network on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, now on YouTube. Cruz Control Podcast Network on YouTube. Just download, rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Show some love and support to the shows. We got like 7, 8 shows. We try to do it multiple times a week. I actually got did a show tonight on the network with Jared Greenberg from NBA TV and Frank Isola. So I know you're
Isola.
Fan. Tune into that. That's the plan. 10 o'clock tonight on my YouTube, on my Twitter account. So go ahead, check it out, and it's fun, man. Again, thank you, man. Appreciate the invite, and enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, man. Like I said, thanks for coming on, Randy. This was a fun to finally get to do this together. Like I said, it means a lot that you came on the show. So, like I said, I'll make sure to plug all that stuff. When I get the show out, put all that good stuff because, like I said, you got a good show. You do a lot of dope stuff. So, like I said, everything you do, I'm rooting for you with everything, all the projects you have. Like I said, big fan of all your work. So, continued success. You can find me Off the Ball Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff, YouTube. Go follow my network, Off the Ball Network, OTB_network on Twitter, all that good stuff. Offtheballnetwork.com. We got some dope stuff. I'm actually working on an article comparing, WWE wrestlers to NBA guys, seeing who comps too. So I'm working on that. So that's my next thing I'm working on. But Randy Cruz, appreciate you coming on the show, brother. Stay safe, be well, and everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Be kind to each other. Social distance so we can get back to some type of normalcy, especially in New York City, get back to some normal type of living. But like I said, thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Randy, be safe and be well. Take care.
Man, thank you. All love.